All right, so hopefully I can do this seamlessly enough. What I wanted to do was go to Instagram. I wanted to go to Instagram. And I pointed you all towards a couple of things. One was John Corellis. This is Adrian Martinez, I believe. Adrian. It was interesting to see concept drawings for designs of birds, but just the heads. It was unusual for me. The thing I'm looking for is this one. And it's interesting that you have to play it on your laptop or on your computer, home computer, but on your phone, this plays automatically. So this guy's name is Dave Thomas. He was my mentor and one of the first animation teachers that ever really took me under his wing. His name is Dave Thomas, the same name as the owner of Wendy's. So he's making fun of the fact that he couldn't call himself Dave Thomas on LinkedIn without getting all these weird emails from people, because there's an actor named Dave Thomas and it's a very common name. So, and I think I pointed you towards this. If you did put a friend request in there to Instagram, you might have seen this. So I'm going to stop this because I want to make sure I don't go over 3 seconds, because he might have it protected and YouTube might disallow me. But take a look at this. Just go to Instagram and search for owner of Wendy's. And here he's making a comment about timing and pacing within any particular shot. And he was talking about learning his timing and spacing from Bill Hanna. Has anyone ever heard that name before? Bill Hanna?
No.
Anybody hear of Hanna-Barbera? William
Yeah.
Hanna and Joseph Barbera. They did tons of cartoons in the 60s and 70s. Actually, Hanna-Barbera Productions in Los Angeles was very concerned about companies coming to them and saying, hey, we want you to keep doing whatever it is, the Flintstones or whatever it is, George of the Jungle, Speed Racer, just a whole bunch of cartoons that they were doing because they had advertisements lined up for them. And that meant everybody. That meant Kellogg's and General Mills and Nestle's and every single advertiser that would be on Saturday morning. And those advertisers were lined up and they were ready to just like go with it. We want new cartoons. And Hanna-Barbera was kind of looking at their bottom line, said, OMFG, we need this amount of footage by mid-November. How are we going to do this? And so they opened up a studio in the Philippines called Phil Cartoons, F-I-L Cartoons. And to this day, that was their outsourcing. That was their outsourcing studio called Phil Cartoons. And to this day, it's still one of the biggest animation studios on the planet. They have 1,200 animators, 1,500 in-betweeners, and 4,000 cleanup artists. It's just huge. When they send things to the Philippines, it just goes in storyboard form. And they'll take a look at the storyboard and they'll say, okay, this is for SpongeBob SquarePants. And they'll do an episode, they'll do a 27-minute episode in a week. Animated, cleaned up, digital, and the files are done. They'll do it in 6 days. They'll do 27 minutes of animation in 6 days, just because there's so many people, and that the pipeline is so standardized that everyone just knows what to do, and the storyboards are, and the production value of the storyboards is good enough that there's no question. SpongeBob needs to take an anticipation here, and he's going to run off screen the other way.
So I have a question for you. It's when you describe that studio, it sounds like not much different from working in assembly line doing something else. Is that a wrong impression?
Oh, that is the absolute correct impression.
So you learn a lot, but it's not very exciting if you start out there.
The animation is pretty limited. You're not going to get the full-on Disney, really smooth acting moments. It's all just like bam, 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 pause, bam, 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 pause. So you break up, and I think that that's what Dave is saying here with Bill Hanna, and his sense of timing was, and they're calling it texture. You know, the idea of putting fast shots against slow shots, juxtapositioning really quick movements with a period of time where there's slow movements or no movement at all, or no movement at all, and then there'll be a couple of shots where the animation is just completely frenetic. You know, go look at the Flintstones, George of the Jungle, anything from the Hanna-Barbera catalog. Actually, I think the Hanna-Barbera catalog now belongs to Cartoon Network. They bought the entire catalog of cartoons 1994, 1996, something like that. But if you look at those and you study just the pace of timing throughout the episodes, you'll see that it is really masterful. So I thought I would throw that at you today. Okay. Oh yeah, and this is one of my students from AI just doing a bunch of paper art, and he can't stop. He just does. He worked at the Disney store. He works at the Disney Museum. He did one more thing for Disney. I think he might have worked in one of the parks or something. He had like 3 real Disney things on his resume. And after he graduated in animation, for me, this is what he does now. He just does all of this stuff, stealing all the Disney princesses. It's really great. I've got like 4 of his pieces. If you go look at Baker Bob, I don't know. I don't think did I play Baker Bob for you? My card. Did I play Baker Bob for you, Chloe? Just say yes.
Not in this class.
I did. Did I play this for you? I didn't play this for you. Uh-oh, someone's advertising on my shot now. Oh, there's 277 views. I'm going to be famous, Alex.
Save 10 hours studying Chrome extension. But no, by all means.
Did I show this to you? No? All right, I'll show it to you. This piece of, this is paper. This is 30 by 14 inches in paper. And it was done by Ryan Riller. Ryan Riller. So if you want to check out one of my students' work, Ryan Riller. And so this thing is huge. I did the drawing, he did the paper art. I didn't play this for you? Oh, MFG. Here you go. Baker Bob. This was for part of my master's thesis at the Academy of Art University in approximately September or October in 2016. I was taking a pre-production class, and my teacher said, just give me 4 different ideas that you would be doing for your pre-production. And so I did. I was like one of the first people to post in the classroom. And the teacher didn't respond. He didn't say anything at all week long. And then none of the other classmates said anything to me. And I finally sent this email to him and I said, could I have some feedback on this? And then he got really mad at me. He's like, are you implying that I wasn't in the classroom? Because I was, I saw it. I'm like, well, I know, but I wanted to go to the next step. I wanted to, you know, I'm like, and I came up with an idea, and he didn't comment on it. So I changed my idea right at the last minute to puppets, marionettes. and immediately started cross-referencing all the Pinocchio stuff and any other puppet that had been animated in 2D. I wanted to do this originally in Flash. I switched to Toon Boom almost immediately. But my idea went to spring quarter for 2017. And that's exactly when I got sick. I was like walking home from school one day and my appendix just exploded. And I spent a week in the hospital. Actually, I spent a week at home thinking it was just the flu. And by the time I was in the hospital, I almost died. And when I got back, I was still sick for a bunch of months. But because I was working at a slower pace, the manager, the director, all the people at the academy said, "That's okay, Billy. We know that you're a teacher and that you're not going to be trying to get a job animating at Disney. So go ahead and direct." And instead of me doing my whole film by myself, I brought in 12 animators from the Art Institute and a whole bunch of other artists to help me work in Toon Boom. And by the end of the year, this was done. At the academy, when you do your master's degree, your final film is supposed to be 1 minute and 20 seconds long. And if it's 1 minute and 30, they'll be okay with it. But because I was working as a director, they let me do a 4-minute film. What? Wait, what? Pinocchio in a halter? 2018. There,
Yay.
there you go. Thanks. It was quite a bit of work to get 4 minutes of animation done using student help. But the thing about it is that when you go here now, when you type in Baker Bob on Internet Movie Database, what happened is that I submitted it to festivals. And because it got into like 6 festivals, which, you know, to I'm like, oh my God, my film is in 6 different festivals. That I added it to my database, but everyone who worked on it now has an Internet Movie Database site. Everybody, all those students, they hadn't even graduated yet, and now they worked on a film. So that's like the coolest thing for them. And then they all got like a little 3D model printed of Peggy as a jewelry box ballerina. And I was glad to be alive. I survived. The appendix didn't kill me. And there's some of my mentors in here from Wild Brain Days. And so my own kids are in there. You know, might be the only time my kids ever have an Internet Movie Database tag on it, but it was something for them to really think about. And I don't know if I showed you this, but this was me working on James and the Giant Peach, Fern Gully 2, Puccini. Puccini is done by Dave Thomas. So this is the same Dave Thomas that we just looked at on Instagram. He worked on Wander Over Yonder, The X's, Fairly Odd Parents. Right now, I think he's stopped working at, oh no, there's a bunch of other stuff coming in here. He might not be working at Netflix anymore. You tell me, is Kid Cosmic a Netflix series? Does anybody know?
It
It
is.
is.
So that's good. He was the director of a bunch of those new Mickey Mouse shorts. So that's good that they're now putting that stuff out there. I have to get my Netflix back. That's what I've got to do. All right, so one of the things that I would like to do is let's take a look at what you've all handed in here, just to get an idea of what this looks like. I don't know why that opened in a new tab. That was weird. All right, Canvas is being the poo head. Oh, there we go. All right, so Kalia, story. Oh no, are you all reading this?
I can see it too small.
Well, you can look at it. Can you see it on Canvas? Can you see your classmate stuff on Canvas?
Yeah,
No.
but
No, I don't think so.
the
Yeah.
font is too small for me to read.
Mr. Zulu wants to promote his company's new Halloween dessert ideas. He's forcing Lonnie, its inventor, to participate in a commercial. Lonnie is completely clueless about the products. The commercial begins with Mr. Zulu brimming smile. He introduces the products. The next shot focuses on Lonnie, who is obviously showing a fake smile because being forced to participate. Mr. Zulu continues to make grim jokes about the desserts that customers can buy for Halloween, which are actually real body parts. This makes Lonnie uncomfortable. Mr. Zulu's dark humor makes Lonnie uncomfortable, but she laughs nervously with a concerned smile. The Grim Reaper makes an appearance next to Lonnie. The commercial ends with Mr. Zulu eating a finger.
I actually want to comment on that. I ran out of paper, so I had to edit it a little bit.
How could you run out of paper?
I ran out of blank paper. I'm going to pick some up tomorrow.
Okay. I'm always amazed at that because I have just like tons of paper. Like reams and reams and reams of paper. Okay, so that looked good. The script looked good. And here's your shot. Okay, so your 180 can be like right here. And you got some character signs. That looks good. Okay, Kalia, this looks really good.
It does?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, it looks bad. Redo it.
Oh my God, really?
No, this is good. Let's just check continuity. Okay, yeah, this looks good. And because you're first, what I'm gonna do is download this. And the second part of today, I think we'll try to do an animatic with yours. Hey, it didn't download. Let me try it again. I want to make sure that this is downloaded correctly before I go on to the next one. It says doc. Are you Kalia? Okay. Halloween. Okay. It's not downloading correctly. Kalia.
Yes.
Well, hold on 1 second. It may not be, it might be Canvas. I'm going to refresh this. It's not downloading correctly. You created this with Word doc, with Microsoft Word?
Yeah, apparently I have too much trouble trying to make it into a PDF, so I put it all in a document on Google Drive. That's bad, huh?
Well, no, I think the problem is that the Google Drive connection. Could you do me a favor and see if while we're talking here, if you can try to convert it to a PDF? So you do it this way. When you're in a Microsoft document, like this is for my master's class, right? You go to File and then Export and then PDF, right?
Mm-hmm.
And see if you can load it right on top of the one you've got here. Because it's
Okay.
not behaving. I'm getting like an empty shell. And then let me know when you've done it.
Okay.
It was good. That's good.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So this is Carmen.
Hello.
Oh, hello. I like it that he eats the candy and his eyes go crazy immediately. Okay, good. That sounds good. Here's your map. I'll always try to remember to put your line of action in there.
Oh yeah. Also, since the mountains are like pretty far away,
Right.
should I like expand my map, or I didn't really know how to show that.
Nope, this is good.
Okay.
Always put your 180 line in there just so you know where it is and you don't ever make that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is a good sketch. That's your master shot. Yep, and you did the right thing by going in on him. Okay, so this is great. What is
Hey,
I
thank you.
incomplete?
Yeah, I didn't finish it yet, so.
You don't have to do that. It would be CB, Carmen Bechtel, underscore T3 V1, version 1.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to do incomplete. It's not incomplete. You're doing exactly what I told you to do.
Okay.
Yes, it's not done because we're doing it next week.
Mhm.
If you were listening to me when we first started class, your teacher was having an aneurysm and it was supposed to be due today. Here's the Carmen, this is correct. This is great.
Thank you.
Keep going. Yeah, keep going. Sketches look good. And for everyone, for whatever it is worth, even with the suggestion of the perspective, it's there. So get those lines in there. It affects everything. In any particular shot here, it is really good because she's got the background. The midground is the little schoolhouse or the little firehouse or whatever this is. And then the foreground is the bus stop. So that's why this is working. There's background, midground, and foreground elements in these shots. In an ECU, you don't need the background and midground. Your ECU is the entire shot. In a close-up here, which technically on the product, you can use a color card in the background. So even in a close-up or ECU, you don't have to have backgrounds. All right, thank you, Carmen.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you do. Write those notes down. All right, this is Vivian.
Yes.
Skeleton and Pirates. Okay. Okay. Careful, Vivian, Miss Vivian. Miss Vivian.
Uh-huh.
You did the TV, the table, the boy sitting there in your 180 line. And you have one camera pointed one way and the other camera pointed the other. That's the whole point of the 180 is you're not allowed to cross it.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to use these two cameras, you can still use those two cameras, but you have to pick a different 180. Your 180 would have to be this way. And then you're not allowed over here. Your cameras are not allowed to point this way. Bad camera, evil camera. But if you want to use these two cameras, that's fine. They're just not allowed to point that way. Okay?
Okay.
Got it? Promise?
Mhm.
You pinky swear across a digisphere.
There you go.
You swear across a digisphere. Okay, so that looks good. And this looks good too, okay? Okay. And the little color model, okay. Okay. Great, excellent. So this looks really good, and I'm changing my mind. Kalia,
Yes.
I'm changing my mind. You don't have to put a PDF in there.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you don't have to do that. I changed my mind. My demo is gonna be something a little different. All right, so yeah, Vivian, this looks really good. Yep, you got the whole thing worked out. This is good. Tons of different characters. Excellent. The queen sea dragon. Okay, this is great. Excellent. Wow. Little gradient in there, little feather effect in Photoshop. All right, excellent. Excellent, Vivian. Let's see some hands for Vivian, please. Clapping hands. Yay!
Yay!
Yeah, this is really good. Yeah, the only thing is your line of action. Just be careful of that. So when so now let me make sure that. Oops, I can't do that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you got the right idea. Okay. All right. Excellent. I'm going to go on to the next one. Laura. Good job, Vivian. All right, this is Laura.
Yes, I'm here.
Kind of an isometric map, but that's okay. All right.
So I was not sure if I could use an existing brand. So I use one. I don't know if I need to change the product.
I don't know what that means.
Because the products on my commercial is a real product, and I don't know if I can use it or not.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you're in a college. You are at college. You are not trying to earn money off someone else's.
Yeah, of course. No.
You're just studying. So yeah, you are more than allowed to use the product. So what is your product?
Is it's in Spanish more recognized moco de gorilla gel.
Okay.
It's for, yeah.
Okay. Gorilla gel. Okay.
Yeah.
I could use some myself. Look, I don't hear any left anymore. Oh my God. All right.
Is that for you? Is the Gorilla Gel for your hair?
Jose says.
It's a gel for
Yeah, it's a very strong gel.
extra control.
Jose,
gorilla booger.
Jose.
Yeah.
That little ponytail reminded me of something. Let me see if I can get it really fast. Anyone see this week?
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that this morning, actually.
Stop it. Oh, God. I like how she moved it. Stop it. Okay, sorry, Lauren.
Okay.
All right, so okay, so oops, what did I do? I'm always technically always a little worried about shots that have either a bird's eye view or just a very high camera in them. And I think it's affecting your shot here. I think that this is going to look better for you if you use the same horizon line or the same line for the room. So this is the line for the wall. And use a horizon line that's about right here.
Yeah.
Use the horizon line right here. What happens is that, yeah, your bed ends up looking like you're looking straight down on it, but it might be better to turn the bed the other way so that you can make it look like you're just an adult in the room. Because right now this is just your view of the bed, and your vanishing point's about right there. So your table would be more straight on. And then if you do have a corner of the room, it would look more like this, so that this window would be more like this.
Oh, okay.
And then your dresser is going to have to behave to that vanishing point as well. So you'd be able to see the top of the dresser, and then the dresser is going to be in perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and then the mirror is going to be in perspective as well. So that corrects your perspective a little bit. Do you want to take a screenshot of this?
Yes.
So your horizon and your wall, your ground plane, the wall are basically in the same place, but and your vanishing point is kind of in the same place, but you're aligning things just a little differently to it so that it makes more sense for your characters.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then adjust those,
Yeah.
the subsequent thumbnails before you go any further. All right. So you've got, so this is your product shot.
Yes.
So remember that if you want these words in there, you're going to either have to cut or pan or something, right?
Yeah.
And then this shot, fixing this shot is going to mean that this shot needs to be fixed, because it looks kind of,
Yeah.
oh, you did not copy and paste. You did a new one.
Okay.
But the perspective in that shot has to be fixed. Okay, so he gets up, he puts this stuff in his hair. All right, so your acting sequences are good, and the perspective is a little better starting here in panel 6, panel 4, panel 5, and to the front. The perspective just needs to be tweaked a little bit. All right, so he and 13, panel 13, yeah, fix the perspective in that shot.
Okay.
So once again, it's the quick fix is this, where your horizon is here, right?
Yeah.
So your vanishing point is right there. So make the dresser behave to the vanishing point. Make the bed behave to the vanishing point. And if there's a headboard, so that's your perspective right there. You have to behave to the vanishing point.
Okay.
All right, so this looks fine. This is good. All right, yeah, just fix your perspective, and the demo for today is going to be how to take this up to your storyboard level. But make sure you fix your perspective. Can I see some hands?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Oops. Alex. All right, we got a monster box of worms materializing and glowing with special effects. I'm intrigued. All right, so you're selling worms, Alex? Alex, you're selling worms?
Yes,
You're selling-
yes. Read the story.
Okay. No, I did. I'm just double.
No, I mean, read the storyboard.
I know. Don't yell at me.
I'm not yelling.
Yes, you are.
I just have a loud voice.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You don't. Okay. Okay. You might need a close-up on those box of worms.
We get that. Oh, you mean beef? Well, he's not using worms right now. He's
Oh,
using the bobber.
Right. Oh, so there it is. Okay.
Oh, wait.
Monster bait. Okay.
He's not catching fish.
Okay. Okay. All right. So between panel 12 and panel 13, you really should show the action of him throwing the hook in the water.
Okay.
Because I think it's not gonna read properly if you just put this giant sad worm on the hook. Right? And then in panel 13, he's already fishing.
Yeah.
So I think you should try to do something right there. And if you need to
Yeah.
edit it out later, you can. Your sketches are fine, your sketches look good. So he catches,
That's great. That allows me to do actually the wind up and throw and see whether I can capture that. So that's great.
all right, so he catches the fish. And I'm sorry, I just have to remind here, does the fish bite?
No, he just falls. He leans all the way back, and because the fish is so big, and he falls in the water.
All right. So technically the fish still has the hook and the worm in his mouth, right?
They come out, they break, whatever. It's a big
Alright.
fish, the line breaks.
And then in panel 16, he's already walking on the beach.
No, he's sinking in the water.
Oh, he's
It
sinking.
says sink.
I know, but it looks like he's walking.
All right, so I need to do that differently.
Well, I think a good way to draw sinking is to
How do I do that?
just draw your line of action,
Mhm.
head, get your torso in there,
Oh, that one.
get your legs up, and act it out. You know, what does he do? Ah, you're sinking, right? Because you see me in a chair, you're sinking. So this is a fairly decent pose for sinking. And then the bubbles, right? And then you can draw the top of the water up here. And then you can just draw a couple of poses or an arrow to just say that he's sinking if you want. But this pose here, even in its very rough form like this, reads like he's sinking, as this looks like he's walking. Okay, you want to take a screenshot of that?
I did. I just did.
All right, and stop yelling at me.
I think it's because I'm wearing a headset with earbuds.
All right, and then so go from the sinking pose into more of like a treading water pose to meet the mermaid, because you copy and pasted the same pose. Just make sure that you draw a transition pose to meeting the mermaid. Okay, so he's sinking. He's underwater, but he's still alive at this point. And the mermaid is actually giving him the monster bait. But he was just using the monster bait to catch this fish. Did you do this just so you could hear me say monster bait all over and over again?
The monster bait fell in the water. I guess I need to show that.
No, you didn't. You didn't hear me. Did you do this story just so that you could hear me say monster bait over and over again?
Now there's a thought.
You're in big trouble. So I'm just a little confused in terms of story, because it looks like he was using the bait here, the giant monster bait. But then why would the mermaid need to give it to him if he was already using it?
Because it fell in the water and she's giving it back to him.
He's giving it back to him. You didn't show that to us.
No, I did not.
So you need to show that to us so that it becomes what's called a story point. Yes.
Yes.
And in the whole big old grand scheme of things, if you wanted to be theoretical about it, this is Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 of the story, right? And your stories have points. This is time. And then this is intensity. And so if you wanted to map out shot by shot, right? This is shot 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You might have 10 shots, right? Because it's 30 seconds, right? And if you wanted to map these out, there's usually a lull transitioning between Act 1, Act 2, and another lull between Act 2 and Act 3. And it's very common to have a story arc that looks something like that, where this is your crisis. This is the main fight between Luke and Darth, right? This is your main climax of the story. This is rising action. This is falling action. A story or a story point is each one of these little points on the line where it changes direction. Anytime the story changes direction in intensity is a story point. Anything that happens has to move the story right along. And if you're missing one of these, it ends up becoming a hole in the story. Oh, I just erased the whole thing. It's not letting me do it. If you're missing a story point, it becomes a hole in that line. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, and then we can assume that your fisherman is going to come back out of the water and then have better luck fishing from that point on. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not part of the set.
Yeah, you have to show this falling in the water.
Yeah, I do.
And perhaps sinking even with him.
I had that and I took it. Actually, I had that and I took it away and I need to put it back in.
All right, so there's your guy sinking, right? Bubbles. And then, so there'd be multiple shots of him going downwards. And then the can is already in the water, but put it over here, falling. Right? Those are the worms, and the worms are like getting out. Right? You could even have it reach the bottom first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, guys, some hands for Alex, please. Yay!
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. October 5th, October 6th.
Sorry about that.
God, you're so evil.
Also, I know you said you wanted like half a page of stuff, so this is a little long. I just wanted to put everything on paper before I forgot.
Right, I understand. Okay, so this looks good. The idea would be to go, go, go.
Mhm.
Character design, maps, thumbnails.
Okay.
Thank you, Chloe Kim.
Is there any way I can improve the story for it at all, or is it okay to just start right there?
I think start.
Okay, sounds good.
Remember, you've got exactly 720 frames. So you might have a little bit much in here. You might have to edit it a little bit.
Mhm.
You might have to edit it, but go, make it happen.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Chloe.
you.
Magnus?
Sorry, I just noticed a typo. It's a he.
That's okay. That's okay. Jedi scum. All right. Okay. The Sith guy. Okay. Map. Okay.
I tried to do 2 scenes in this, so hopefully it translates properly.
Okay. That's fine. You can do 2 scenes. We need 2 different maps. All right. Shot 1. All right. So I'm a little confused of what happens in panel 6. What is happening with all this intensity?
So he's using his hand and using force lightning. Like, I don't know if you can see the hand.
Oh,
It's,
so he's doing it at the camera.
yeah.
So remember, if this is a story point, you have to consider whether that is too far away or not.
Mhm.
Because right now his hand is very small on the screen, so you may want to tighten that up a little bit, or do a crash zoom or something like that.
Okay.
All right, so he blasts energy at the screen. And then we cut to a lightsaber. And then we cut back to him, possibly him, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I think I'm just a little confused because you have red lightsaber here. And then I'm assuming that this becomes a red lightsaber.
Oh yeah, that's a hologram. The way Star Wars does it, like blue light. I know it. I thought about that, but
Then does he grab this lightsaber then?
no, it's just an example dummy one.
Okay.
It's part of scene 2.
All right, then back to scene 1, right?
Yeah.
Then he fights the dummy. All right, so I think just visually, I'm just a little confused about what this lightsaber is doing. It's advertising the brand new lightsaber, right?
Yeah.
All right, and so in order to do that, I think that there should be a transition. Does he end up using the new lightsaber?
Yeah, the red one is the new lightsaber.
Well, I know, but look, he's got a red one here in panel 5. So you need to make that one different. You need to make it green or yellow or something.
Well,
then-
he has the new lightsaber the entire time.
Oh,
Yeah, the new lightsaber is a red one. Like red light coming from it.
and that's why he can beat the dummy so cleanly. And then you go back to it. All right, so the thing that would probably make sense is that in the scene 2 where you've got the lightsaber, make sure that the little core, the red core, becomes the lightsaber that it is, even though he's not holding it, so that the audience can make a connection to this thing being the red lightsaber. Yes, yes, yes.
I'm trying to think about it. Should I use red light instead?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. You have to make a connection between this thing and the thing he's holding. And
Okay.
so if it's not the same thing, then the audience could be confused. If visually this lightsaber was yellow and then you advertise the red one and then it becomes a red one, we can make the connection that he picked up the new lightsaber. But if you want him to have the new lightsaber the whole time, then make sure that the audience can make a strong connection between what he's holding and the product shot are the same thing.
Okay.
And so make sure, and like I said, even though he's not holding it, show the red beam coming out of it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then he cuts the dummy in half. So what might work is try pulling your camera in a little closer in panel 15, 16, and 17, even 18, and pull out in 18, because it might make sense to do like some little anthropomorphization of the dummy. And even though the dummy is made out of wood or stone or whatever, he can still have like this faint expression. If you look at me in the mirror, it's like he's like, oh, he's gonna cut. You do that thing where he's surprised, right? So he's just a dummy. He's got his eyes closed, right? And then he's like, oh, right before he gets cut in half. It might be fun. It's something to just try.
Okay.
All right, Magnus, hands for Magnus, everybody, please. Okay, so what we are to understand as the viewer here is that the TV is controlling all the stuff in his room.
Also, by the way, I also have a typo. It should be objects, not objects. So
yeah, I know. So the TV is controlling them all, right?
Yeah.
And then he turns the TV off, and they poof away, and he sighs in relief. But then he turns the TV back on again. And so your final moment of your commercial is advertising a new 3D AR headset, right?
Yeah.
And so is that the thing that caused these things to come to life in the first place?
Yeah, it's supposed to look like it's 3D and AR technology. Like imagine like if there's just a character like on the bed, and there's like a character on the drawer, and then there's like and there's like two cars like racing on the floor, and stuff like that.
No, I understand that. What I'm trying to get at is he turns the TV back on again. So what happens to all the stuff in the room?
They like again they popped out again because the gamer when he first time plays it, he didn't know what's going on. It's like, oh my god, what's going on? Why is the character there? Oh my god. And then he turned off the TV and just like, and was like, and like,
all right,
let's try that again.
Be careful. Camera 2, please, and camera 3. You got to draw your 180 line in here because, well, let me see. If you put your 180 line here, if you put your 180 line here, then this camera doesn't work. You got
actually
it?
camera. Oh, okay.
If you put your 180 degree line here, then this camera won't work. All the other cameras will work. Remember that this 180 line is the same as this one, right?
Yeah.
It's the same, but this camera won't work. Camera 2, 3 will not work. It's a screen direction error. All right, you're trying that line of action. I appreciate that. Keep working at it.
Okay.
All right, so remember these are thumbnails, but I believe these are too big. These are probably twice as big as you need. Thumbnails are supposed to be really small. All right, so this right here becomes your master shot.
Yeah.
Your character walking. So in this shot right here, you should have all the stuff moving around, animating around in this shot. and in shot 2 or panel 2. That's the whole point of your script, was that he walks in and the TV is on and all these things are being controlled by the TV, by the computer monitor. So, you know, it might make sense if you, so I'm gonna look at this shot right here, your first shot, and it might make better sense of you putting the TV over here and his chair here, and maybe the desk right here. So this is his gamer station. And then if you want to, you can show like the end of his bed here. And so that when he walks in, all this stuff is already animating around. So what is this thing supposed to be right here? Is that his bed?
Yeah, it's a bed.
Right. I think whatever. I think whenever he comes in, if he's going to come in this way, that I think that all the stuff should be animating on your focal points, and that we should see the TV and possible connections. So if there's like a little car driving around on the bed over here, you know, that we can see that the same action is going on here, and that maybe in the corner of this computer monitor is the button that we see in just a moment when he goes over to turn it off. So he walks in the room and then he turns it off and then he sits down. So I think you need to be careful of this shot. I don't think you need this shot.
No, actually, he turns on the TV and then he sits down to play, and then
So I think I'm missing the gag. So all these things are animating around in his room, and he turns the TV. You said turns TV off.
yeah, turn the TV off and they poop away, and then like.
Can I ask a question real quick? Would it be better if it were that he was taking the headset off instead of turning the TV off, since you're going to be seeing everything through the headset?
I guess so, but the main point is like the headset, you put on the headset and then it's still off. Like you have to like put the headset on, and then you turn the TV power on, and then the TV can and the characters come pop at the TV. It just.
So the sequence is that he enters, he puts his headset on, turns the TV on, and everything comes to life.
Yes.
And then he reacts, he freaks out, and then he turns the TV off.
Yes.
And all this stuff goes away.
Yes.
He turns it back on again. So what is the difference? Has he got a new headset now?
No, it's the same headset, but because he tried to turn it on because he wanted to see the hijinks again. Because why not?
I think I'm just having trouble about what motivates him to turn it off.
He turns it off because imagine like this is his first time playing it with this headset. This is like the first time, and all this stuff happens, and then he turns it back off because first time experience.
So then he gets brave and just turns it back on again. And in reality, we should see the same kind of action.
Yes.
You should see all the stuff, the same stuff, come back out of the TV and start playing around in his room. But now he might have changed his mind and now he's happy about it instead of being worried.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I just want to be really clear that you're trying to sell the 3D AR headset. And I'm trying to imagine how you can do this cleanly in 30 seconds. So So I think that what might work a little bit better for you is if you do one of two different things. One is that, just so imagine this. He walks into the room, he sits down, he puts his headset on, and he turns the TV on really quickly. And in that shot, instead of showing just this finger and the button, I think that what would happen is if you tried to show everything happening all at once, so that your character is nice and big in the shot, they're almost in the side view. You know, your vanishing point is here. And he reaches over and turns it on so we can see his face, right? So we can see like that he's like worried about it. You know, it's like, and so he turns this on quickly and a whole bunch of stuff pops out and runs around, right? And then he turns it off. So your sequence is he comes in, sits down in his chair. So that's his chair, right? You can see that now he's sitting there and he's 3/4 to us. That's his right hand. He sits down, he's got the headset on. And when he does this, all these things come out of the screen. And really quickly, he turns it off. And then they poof away, right? They just disappear. They poof, just like magic, right? This thing was flying in the air and it just disappears, right? With just magic. And then he changes his expression to be like, you know, he looks around. What was that, right? So you do like some facial studies where he's like, he looks around the room and now he's really worried, right? Or he's worried or mad or both. You know, he's like, what is going on here? And then he does this once and then he does it twice and the same kind of thing happens and he turns it off and then he closes his eyes and he's like, maybe he adjusts his headset this time. For the third time, he like changes something or he fixes his microphone or something like that. And then he gets brave. So he closes his eyes and then he hits this a third time. And this time he has the controller in his hand down here. And now the third time, all this stuff comes out, but he's controlling it. So instead of it being mayhem, now like the car comes crashing out and goes straight. And that he's controlling it so that he can try to make a connection to what he's doing with his controller and his headset together over a course of 3 different pushings of the button allows him to control this. And then you do a final thing where he's like, oops. And then you do a final expression where he's like, yeah, right? He's happy about it. He's like, and so now he can be like looking around the room and he's happy with it. Try something like that. So he pushed it once, too fast, twice, still mayhem. Closes his eyes, and then he's like, okay, let's try this a third time, and then it works. All right, try that.
Okay.
It might make it just cleaner to understand. And you can still try to incorporate some of the shots that you have. What is happening here? These things poof away. So
yeah, and like an 8-bit poof, if you will.
Okay, that's fine. All right. All right, and so you're still drawing thumbs, so you don't have a whole lot of things to correct. Remember that even in a shot like panel 9, things should be in perspective. So give a deeper perspective on this monitor so that we can see that it's a monitor and not just a rectangle. Okay. All right, can we see some hands for Riley, please? Some hands for Riley. All right, let us take a 10-minute break. Take 10 minutes. When we come back, we'll finish up the last few.
I'm here too.
Everybody's here?
Yeah.
All right. So a couple more to look at here. And then I need to show you what to do with these. All right, we are looking at Kyle's. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a script and then I have character design stuff.
Okay, so Kyle, this file name is way too long.
Yeah, I
Kyle.
tried to save it as that, and then it added Google Docs at the end for some reason. So when I submit the final, it will not have Google Docs at the
Yeah,
end.
I'm gonna find out where you live.
I could give you the address right now to save you the trouble.
Suffering bastard. Okay. All right. All right, this is working, right? That's kind of cool. Is that your drawing, hopefully? Yeah.
Yeah, that was my own drawing.
Okay, yeah, it's good. Could play with that a lot more. You can actually use that for your actual background.
Okay.
Just make sure it's horizontal, not vertical.
Yeah, I can go ahead and expand it as well.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Do it. Go for it. Make it happen.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Day drinking. Okay. Some hands for Kyle, please. Hey. Yep, that works. Day drinking is kind of dangerous, but at least for the storyboard class right now, we'll let that one slide. All right, Kyle. Riley. We saw this one already, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
you
did
already did.
Riley's last.
All right, and then we did. All right, so Philip. Popcorn breath, Philip.
Hello.
Okay, so what are you selling here, Philip?
My script.
It's a commercial. It's a commercial. What's the product you're selling?
Tricycles? I don't know. I didn't figure it out yet.
Well, I think you need to figure that out, and you need to figure that out quickly here. Remember that if you say a character is driving over a bridge on his trike, there's a snake, plants start to grow. You know why? You say plants are starting to grow. So is this tricycle magical?
No, it is a normal tricycle that normal people use.
You could have it as like an environmental advertisement or something, like going green, so he's riding a bike instead of driving in a car or something.
I had to add a question. So is it like an advertisement for the bike, or is it just like some birthday stuff, or what is it?
It could be what Kyle said, environmental bike advertisement.
All right, so Philip.
Yes.
This file name is out of control.
I thought it's the perfect length.
No. You put your initials, underscore, story3.pdf. There's
Okay.
too many characters in here. This is wrong. You're evil.
Okay.
Evil.
Don't hunt me down.
Evil. All right, then this doesn't look like a map. I don't know what this looks like. So let's just jump over here for a second. If we say, I'm going to do a map of a park, let's say, right? And we switch
Yeah.
it to images, what does that map look like? Here's a good one, right? So you're far up in the air, you're really far on top of the actual park itself. This one is looking a little isometric. This works pretty good. Remember, you're a bird way up high, right?
Okay.
See, this one's good one, right? See what the trees look like? They're just round, right? There's little icons in there. This is what you need to do for a map. What you're drawing from me here is not a map. I don't know what this is. So I would suggest you say, all right, your kid is drawing, he's riding his tricycle. So you draw a little tricycle, you just draw a little icon or whatever that looks like. The kid's got a head, he's got the handlebars, he's got a front wheel, he's got back wheels. That's your tricycle or something like that. Whatever that looks like, doesn't matter what it looks like, because you're going to say that he's got a path. He's going along a path, and there's a tree, and there's another tree. There's a couple of bushes. There's a park bench. Here's the snake, right? You can actually draw the snake like this if you want.
Okay.
Then it might help you. This is position A. This is position B. This is position C, or C, and then D, and then E. That's the way you draw your map. I don't want to see this. I want to see what your environment looks like, because then your next step is that then you go in and say, okay, so this is my 180-degree line. And then you can start to figure out where your cameras go. The camera's going to be here. It's going to be here. This is your establishing shot. This is your wide shot. This is camera 1. This is camera 2. This is camera 3. Right? So that's the way to set this map up.
Okay.
Right? You understand?
What are the letters for B, D, E?
That's their cameras.
Oh,
Those are your cuts.
okay.
That's your cut. In the shot, the storyboard we did where there was only one camera, this camera moved. It went over here, it went left, or it went right. But there were no cuts in that shot.
Got it.
But in this commercial for 720 frames, you can have as many as 8 different cuts.
Okay.
8 times 3 is 24. So that gets close. 8 times 3.5 is about 30 seconds. So you need to draw your map more carefully. You also need to figure out the connection of starting to grow and what you're selling. What are you selling?
Okay. Yeah, I forgot to put that.
Yeah, you need to put that in there.
Okay.
I'm back here. Oh, hold on. All right, and even though these are thumbnails, you still need to give me a sense of perspective. And it could be that these thumbnails are actually just a little bit too small. So get them bigger. Get them to be just a little bigger. And make sure you've got perspective in each shot. And again,
like draw myself a grid for each one.
Draw yourself a what?
A grid.
Well, yeah, just draw it quickly.
Okay.
Even if you've got a thumbnail, your thumbnails, if this is 8.5 by 11, your thumbnail should be about this big. And then just draw your horizon. Where's your vanishing point? Draw your grid. It only takes a second. Put the grid up in the sky. There's one up there too. Here's your path. There's a little boy. Draw your tricycle. There he is driving on his tricycle. And then just keep going. This is panel 1, right?
Yeah,
but you have to figure out what you're selling.
okay.
And I would suggest doing it quickly.
How about ice cream cones?
Then you have to rewrite your story, Philip. I'm not gonna write your story for you. All right, can I
Okay.
see?
Thank you.
All right, Gio,
Yep. Oh, is it not popping up?
ooh, there's a bug and a wolf and a camera.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is it okay just to use just one singular background?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
The bug lands inside a sweater. What sweater?
He's supposed to be wearing one. Um, and also I had some questions from my script as well.
Is the wolf wearing a sweater?
Yeah.
So the bug lands inside the wolf's sweater.
Yeah, because as he tries to catch the bug, the wolf, the bug instead just lands inside the sweater.
So it goes from inside his sweater to coming out of his nose.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do, like kind of like cartoonish, kind of like I didn't I didn't put this in the script because I'm also thinking about the ending. But basically he takes it out of his sweater and eats it, and then but he doesn't kill it, right? And it just comes out of his nose like if it was
Why are you
cartoon.
bug killer? If you're going to sell bug killer, then the wolf should kill the bug.
Yeah,
Right.
but he's gonna spray it. He's not gonna kill it with like his mouth,
No, I know that.
basically.
So
He's gonna kill it using bug spray. And that's the product that I'm trying to.
okay. So I would say yes. You just have to show it. You've only got the
Yeah. I
First.
just have this. Yeah. I was.
concentrate on facial expressions so that we can see like the bug is being annoying.
Yeah.
And the wolf
And
it's like and don't get caught up on the bug going inside his sweater. I think it would be fine if the bug is just circling around the wolf's head.
okay. Yeah.
I mean,
That would probably be easier.
think about the kind of the sort of the reality of it, that
Yeah.
you can do things that are very cartoony. You can have the bug go inside the wolf's mouth and go all the way to the tip of his tail, and so that the wolf is really stretched out, and then it comes flying back out again and then circles around the wolf. I mean,
Okay. I see that. Yeah.
this is 30 seconds. You have time to explore that cartoony squash and stretch thing, and when the eyes of the wolf come out really big when the bug is like stretching him, he's like, it's like one of those squeezy toys. And then that
Okay.
gives wolves something really to be mad at the bug about. And I would suggest doing something like that, because that would motivate the wolf to want to try to kill the bug instead of just trying to kill the bug. And instead of spending all this like time following the bug and
Yeah.
letting the audience fall in love with the bug, you might want to have the bug hiding like behind of a tree, and the bug is like a ninja bug. He's got like this like actual ninja blade, and he's like, think about the scenario in your mind's eye. Right, play it out.
Yeah.
Pretend you're the bug.
So like a close up of the bug.
It's that stupid wolf. I'm gonna bug him, right?
Okay.
And then you do the wolf, and the wolf is just walking by, and he's right.
Yeah.
And you play on the Little Red Riding Hood by dressing up the wolf as Granny, right?
Mhm.
And then the little bug is like, and if you're going to go that way, then maybe the bug is dressed up as Little Red Riding Hood. Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right, does that make sense?
Yes.
Makes sense, that makes sense?
Yep.
All right, and so you only have one drawing that's copy and pasted and then a little red bug. And so redoing everything isn't going to cost you a whole block of time.
Right. Yeah.
Remember that these are thumbnails, so draw them a little smaller or whatever. Draw the thumbnails for you a little smaller and get the idea of where everything is, where the camera is, what actually happens. Do the thumbnails for yourself to make sure that it guides you to do your final boards correctly.
Okay.
All right, Geo, everybody.
Thank you.
Geo. All right, Randy.
Yep.
All right, I don't see a script or a map or character design. Just blasting straight into the thumbnails.
Yeah, my script, map, and character design, it's like really sloppy. I just didn't want to turn it in yet.
All right, so the spaceship is on fire and it's crashing to Earth. We don't know if this character is sitting there when the spaceship crashes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if it crashed and he fell out. Is this spaceship belong to this alien?
Yeah.
How did he get out? Why is he just sitting there? Do you want to show him tumbling out?
Yeah.
What's going on with this alien? Where is this alien?
The green alien, he's actually calling the blue alien to come pick him up.
Shouldn't this panel be before this panel then?
No, he crash lands and then I'll do a drawing of him like tumbling out and then
he's like beep beep beep, I crashed, come pick me up.
Yeah.
All right, and so this is a hard connection to make with just 3 drawings. Because now it looks like in panel 4, your green guy has given up the idea of being rescued and he's going to go talk to a caveman. Right?
Got it.
Now, am I to assume, and you know what happens when you assume things? Do you know what happens when you assume things?
You get things wrong.
No, tell him, Chloe.
I don't know. What happens?
Chloe, Alex, tell him. What happens when you assume things?
You usually go wrong.
Nope.
It makes an ass out of you and me.
It makes an ass out of you and me. So is this alien teaching the caveman how to make fire?
Yes.
All right, so that's an assumption. And I think that it's a poor connection between the alien crashing, the green alien crashing, calling for help, and then in panel 4, he's already decided to give fire to the caveman. All right, and then, okay, I guess this is the spaceship coming to the rescue. And then this is a reiteration of panel 4. Panel 7 is a reiteration of panel 5. And then the alien is teaching another group of people to make the pyramids.
Yes.
And then the guy who's rescuing the green alien is still on the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then this alien is given the ability to make cities. All right, and then I guess this is the green alien's watch.
Yes.
Hey, Randy.
Yes.
What are you selling?
The watch.
You need to make that connection.
Yeah. part of the script that was supposed to be like, hey, come pick me up. And then the blue alien was supposed to say like, all right, just hold on, find something to do while you wait.
I think that that's an important story point.
Yeah, I'm still trying to put all the pieces together.
Your thumbnail should have a background, a foreground, and a midground element in them. If you're going to use cuts like this is just a bit too drastic of a cut. You should probably show the spacecraft crashing, show the green guy falling out, show him rattled, show him reaching for his watch or whatever, just reaching for his cell phone. And then it's beep, beep, beep. And then those little radio signals leave the Earth and go all the way through space and time to this guy. And so you need more panels in here for sure. And I would be careful, because if the green guy is gonna call for help and then teach caveman to make fire and then teach the Egyptians how to make pyramids and then teach the guys who are living in New Jersey how to make a big city, that's gonna take a lot of time. And because you have missing story panels, this might be more like 45 seconds or a minute. So my main critique for you is to be careful, okay, watch your time. Make sure you don't go over time. Your panels should be numbered. You should have shot numbers in there. It would have helped if you would have had screen directions, camera, dialogue. You know, as it is, you've got every single panel is a new scene. And usually a new scene needs 10 or 15 story panels in order to tell the story of that scene. So not only is panel 4 one scene, it's also one shot. So if I count this and say I've got 11 different story panels, this is 11 different scenes. So you need to be careful with this. I would try to work with just 1 or 2 scenes and a bunch of shots within those scenes to tell the story. Okay?
Got it.
Got it, Randy. And because it's quick and easy and breezy, don't be afraid to just do one little part of this. Just do him showing him how to make fire or something, because you're going to get into trouble. My intuition is you're going to go way over time.
What if I put the watch like in between each segments, like, or frames or panels, indicating that time is passing by?
Right. I understand what you're saying. I stick to my animation and story intuition that it's going to be really rushed. So what I would do if I were you is tell the story to yourself and use your stopwatch and see how long it tells to tell that story.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Randy. Some hands in the camera for Randy, please. Background, foreground, midground elements. Every shot should have perspective in it. Comma. All right, Paulo. Okay. Oh, geez. Paula, be careful. Just even in your map, you've got cameras that are all facing each other.
Okay.
Ah, careful. Put your 180-degree line in there. Make sure you don't go over it. All right, so this is your establishing shot. The bee comes in. He gets his little flower. So, I would be careful here. I don't think that you should suggest that the bee has human hands.
Okay.
I think that what you're going to want to do there is give yourself a cartoon version of the hands. Where the the bee just has 2 fingers. You know, something like that.
Mhm.
Or make them even a little more hooked or something, or a little thinner. Something like this might work.
Okay.
You got to make them look more bee-like. And then bees have like little hairs all over them. So do like the little, you know, something like that. And this is one of the reasons why Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse had gloves. And so you can try that too, but try something like this instead of human hands.
Okay.
All right, you want to take a screenshot of that?
Yeah.
Tell me when you're done.
Okay.
Oh, I heard your camera. Okay. All right, so let's see what your thumbnails look like. He collects his ball. You know, even in here, you could use a mitt. So now that you've gone back to these little ovals here, it might make sense to just stay with your concept right here and use like a mitt. So you draw a little thumb, right? And you use a mitt. Sorry. Use a mitten. Something like that.
Okay.
And in this case, you've got a really thin arm. So if I can erase that, just to keep it on model, it might make sense to make the arm really thin. You know, something like that might work a little better for you.
Okay.
Put the little pollen in there. All right, so he collects the pollen, puts it in his little backpack, flies out. Yeah, okay, I'm not sure about panel 13. I think you can just show him leaving.
Okay.
I don't know if you need this one. Well, unless, so why would the perfume machine be right next to the flower? I thought in your script you said that he went to his lab.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh, I should just do it next to it right there.
That's like a little kid's wagon, right? There's toys. See what I'm drawing?
Mm-hmm.
It's part of a broken down fence. This is supposed to be a beehive, but it's modified to look like the little antenna. It's like a futuristic beehive. And so if you have the bee leave the window and he is going on a track and he's just flying, and he's going to go right in the window, then you can just use a camera move that is right from the window. If you want to use this whole shot, you can.
Mhm.
And then you zoom in or truck in quickly. And then this camera just follows the bee along all the way to here, and then pushes back in again. So it moves out to this wider shot, and then back in again as he goes in the window. You want to take a screenshot of that?
Yeah.
'Cause it depends on how much time that you have, but something like that might work.
Mhm.
I don't think that you should use panel 13. It's a little inconceivable that his chemistry lab is in the house where he's gathering the flour from. You know, unless your establishing shot has him coming in the window and setting up the lab, like that he takes the lab out of his backpack and then goes to the flower, right?
Mhm.
I mean, and that might make sense too, because then he can do all this stuff with the vase in the background and make the perfume, and then leave the perfume right in or on the table where the vase was. And then he puts this stuff in his backpack and flies away.
Okay.
You can try either one of those two things.
Mhm.
That he leaves the bee pollen, the bee perfume for the people who own the flowers. Either one will work.
Mhm.
And you have it for 35 seconds?
No, that's supposed to be 5 seconds. I messed up.
All right, your idea is great. Can I see some?
Or 3 seconds. 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that looks good.
Wait, hold on. When can I turn this in? Am I supposed to turn this in today? Like the remake, like to?
The final is due next week.
Oh, okay, next week. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Tristan.
Yep.
How's it going, Tristan?
It's going well.
Yeah. All right, so I think that this one, just without looking at your boards right away, is going to require some of what I call the inner voice. And I think that you have to deal with the acting that goes on between the characters. What kind of an idiot would go out walking without his water bottle, right?
True.
This is the inner voice. I'm not suggesting that your characters say that to each other at all. But I think that you might want to consider what the inner voice, what those thoughts are like. Oh, wow, man, are you okay? That kind of thing, because that's going to drive the story. That's going to drive the acting. Because I think that your story is simple enough that the person who gets the water, the exhausted hiker drinking the water, all of a sudden has relief, and he should also have a new friend, right?
Right.
If it's practical for the stranger to give your lead character some of his water, then he should be grateful enough that it's like, hey, don't you ride the same bus as me? Don't you live down the street from me? Whatever that inner voice is, and they should become fast friends. And I think that you should consider that, because I think that just letting them drink the water and letting the smart water fade into the scene is just a little too soft. In animation, this hiker walking through the forest rubs his forehead as an visibly exhausted. If this is animation, he should be like a deflated pool floaty.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Like, and as he's walking, he just kind of deflates and collapses. And he's completely flat. And then the second hiker's like, oh, geez. And he gives him a drink of water and he puffs back to life again. Right?
Yeah, I actually like that idea.
I think that you have that idea. It is your idea. I think that makes it more fun. It makes it more animatable. And that it sells the product better too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that direction.
All right, so let's see what you've got. Ooh, trees, everybody.
Hey.
All right, so tired hiker, position 1, right?
Right.
He's got no bones, right?
Right.
You can draw little eyes and a little like for his mouth. Oops, sorry. Little like he's so dehydrated. You know, his hat is off. This is the other arm on the other side. This is his belt. So, you know, try something like this. Look at deflated pool floaties. And so as soon as he gives them like a little drop of water here, then he puffs back up again. Remember that your character should have a line of action.
Right.
All right, so rework it quickly and try, oops, hold on. And work on that. All right, so if you're going to go this way, I think you're just going to change things out just a little bit. Remember to not have your characters walking near the edge of the screen. Remember we talked about action safe area.
All right.
So let your cameras be more intimate with the character. In panel 9, this is okay. But I think that in panel 10, you really want to get your camera so that your camera is looking at both of these characters so that they're on the focal points, right?
Right.
Because right now, this is action safe. Half of your characters are out of action safe. And if you are wanting to show the mid shot, then this is fine, right? So that's why. But if you're going to pull out to reveal the whole character. If this is a close-up, then I need to see a line of action. Oops.
Oh.
I don't know what I did there. Oh, I went backwards.
You refreshed.
I hit refresh. All right, so work on your drawings. Remember my pet peeve with trees. You know, you're starting to kind of be graphic. So, and you can be graphic, that's fine. But take the graphic one more step and make sure you draw the line of action.
All right.
All right. Can I see some hands for Tristan, please? Yay! All right. So let me, did anyone else post while we were talking? All right, so what does this say? Busy plant life got you down?
Yeah.
Feeling a little wilty? Okay. Okay, I think this is fine. I would like to see a map and your thumb, so.
Yeah.
It might be a little long, but go for it, do it. It looks like it's pretty doable. Your character's good. All right, let me see. Anybody else? All right. Take 2 minutes. I'm going to go get a drink of water, and then I'm going to show you the best approach for taking this up to storyboard size. Take 2 minutes. All right, so I think what I'd like to do is just, I'm looking at Kalia's right now, and it's in pretty good shape. Character designs are coming along. For thumbnails, there's maybe a little bit too much detail. Like in the past, I've said that thumbnails are really just for you exploring parts of the pose, making sure that the cameras are in the right place, and that you're determining whether your character's on the left focal point or the right focal point. And to me, it looks like you might have been going for a final line right when you're drawing, instead of trying to explore a little more. So, and I think your story is working. But I think that you could make the jump now to doing full boards. All right, so here's the basic process. And I'm just gonna do this off to the side so that you can see what I'm doing. And we'll stay in green. All right, so I think that when you're doing commercial work, having a title card, it's fine for the advertising agency, but they cut this. Normally, when a commercial starts right at the top of the minute, it starts right on frame 1, and your exposition is like the commercial just starts right up. So, and it's the animator, it's the director's job to sell that product as quickly as possible. All right, so Halloween is coming soon, and so that's the voiceover or the dialogue. Right now, and one of the reasons why I picked Kalia's is because this looks about the right size for a thumbnail. She might have cheated a little bit. It might be a little big, and I'm saying that just because.
Cheat.
Sorry. Might be a little big because there's just a lot of detail in the panel itself. If it was a true thumbnail, it would be a little bit more gestural. This also, remember we did the thing over on the left side where we were working with 16 by 9, 8 by 4.5 is too big. This is like layout size. True 16 inches by 19 inches would be, nobody uses this. So this 8 inches by 4 inches is kind of layout size. You might use 16 by 9 inches if you were doing this for a feature film. All right, and then you go to 4 by 2.25, which is the regular story panel size. So this is the one we would like to use. And therefore your thumbs, which are 2 by 2.125 inches, are for thumbnails. That's your thumbnail size. And again, I think this one just, it looks a little bigger than that. Again, I think it's just because there's a little bit detail. So what we're looking at is 4 inches by 2.25. So we're just going to guess this is 4 inches by 2.25. There's a couple of things that you want to do to make the jump between thumbs and then full boards. And so this becomes important because you want to do this for all of the other projects that we do in this class. You've already had an exposure to thumbs. You've had an exposure to panel number. You've had an exposure to shot numbers and the slug on the board itself. You've had an exposure to screen direction, dialogue, inner voice, camera, all of those things you've had an exposure to. And you can include those, and you really should include them, especially if they're not all quite there in this board size. So we'll just start with panel number 1, panel 1. And this is shot 1. And this is a good habit to get in, just labeling the story panel before you even start. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put like a little bracket right here, just to remind myself that I have to do the slug. All right, so if this is a voiceover, you can just do V/O, which is voiceover, and then just write it in quotations, Halloween is coming. If there's camera, like for instance, you have this shot going into this shot. So the camera is a truck in, and this is actually the same shot. Even though this is panel 2, you're trucking in on it. All right, so in the analysis, the artistic analysis of this shot, I think that your character might be a little high right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this horizon line, which is almost about halfway between the top and the bottom, and I'm just going to bring it down to about the first third. Your vanishing point's in the middle, you can still just leave it there, and I'm just going to throw in a grid really quickly with a general quick reminder that when you put in these lines, that what you're trying to do is actually make squares here. They should look square, just a traditional. All right, and then we're just going to suggest with just a few lines the perspective that's in the sky. All right. Kalia, Halloween is coming. Looks like we're inside an environment here. So what are these trees? What are these? I forgot.
Yeah, they're supposed to be like spooky trees, you know, like the trees that you see like nearby a haunted house.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with our lead character right here. From the vanishing point, do we see the top of his desk? So the question is if I put the top of his desk right on the horizon line, we will not see the top of his desk. If I put the top of his desk just a little bit below the horizon line, then I will see the top of his desk. And just with those few lines, you can see that I've kind of eaten into the perspective a little bit. And so while you're drawing the storyboards, you make that decision. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna skirt the horizon line just a little bit. There might be just a sliver of the top of the desk that we see, and then the front of the desk. So these two lines actually converge to the vanishing point. You've got your character here now, which ends up becoming more in the center of the shot. And there is a focal point right in the center. All right, so even if he's sitting, try to get some kind of line of action in there. And a lot of times if you're working digitally, but I can see that there's pencil work here. So you would do this lightly. Kalia, you would draw this lightly. And then if you're doing your boards right here, then we would be calling this rubbing it down a little bit. So you're doing this in 4 inches by 2 1/4 now. And remembering that each one of these panels here really should have only taken you about 30 seconds tops. And I can see that you might have spent more like maybe 5 minutes on each one. It's kind of a rough guess, but here's
I spent more like maybe a minute or 2.
okay.
I'll
So,
practice.
but the idea is that on these boards here, then you do want to spend about 5 minutes on the board, maybe up to 7 minutes. It depends, because in subsequent panels, you can always copy and paste the grid, right? If you're drawing digitally, or a lot of times what I'll do is if I have a light table, I'll do the grid on a separate piece of paper, and then I'll very quickly transfer it, trace it, trace it, and then I'll start drawing my characters. Because the green is technically rough, and then you're gonna go to a darker green and you're gonna put the details on there. So then you rub it down, then you see that the guy has a monocle, and then you draw more like this. So for this storyboard here, then you draw more like this. And because you're drawing a little bit bigger, you can add just a little bit more detail. And when you're doing that, you think about things like the following. So the guy's got a little hat, whoops, sorry. And you continue to draw the little costume for the guy, his little, and I apologize because Zoom is not the best drawing tool. All right, there's a space here in front of his desk. What would you like on the front of that table or desk?
The items that are shown in panel 4. Yeah.
So, but the way the camera looks here, those things look like they're on the table.
Yes.
But what's on the front of the desk? Right, what's right here?
Oh, you mean the blank part?
Yeah.
I didn't really think of that.
So Halloween is coming. Grim desserts, right? So you can,
Right.
so in pencil, if you're working in pencil, you can just write grim desserts. And you don't have to kind of do it like this. I'm just drawing like this because the Zoom drawing tool is not the best. All right. And again, is there a way that you can work digitally? Can you draw in Photoshop or this application here that I have? I can't switch. Can I switch? You know, the rough animator application that we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you could do that, then you can just copy and trace the background.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I have an HP computer. Is that compatible with?
Absolutely.
Okay.
$4.95.
Okay.
All right, and so, and I think that you could do this too. You could draw it in pencil and then scan it just like you got it, and then import. In this application, you just hit File, Import, and you can bring each one of those drawings right into this frame, and you can scale it up. Yes?
Yes, thank you.
No, let me show you. I'm gonna leave this here and I'm not gonna move it, but I'm gonna stop this for a moment. And I'm going to download, oh, I couldn't download this, could I? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. And that's on my desktop. So in my Rough Animator application, I'm gonna kill this level. I'm gonna add another level on top of it. And I'm gonna import the image. And I'm gonna go find the screenshot on my desktop. And remember that when you're using this application, it comes in like this, but the instant you move away from making it bigger or smaller, the instant that the image is unselected, you can't do anything to it anymore. It's just one of those weird things about the application. So I'm gonna get this up to or about the size. And hopefully you have a way of drawing digitally. All right, so this is kind of where we were, right? And that's kind of close, right? And then you deselect it. And as soon as you deselect it, it's locked. You can't move it around. I don't think you can move it around. Yeah, I don't think you can move it around anymore. But you can draw on top of this. This is on, you know, you can just say this layer right here is my JPEG layer. Like that, and then you can open up a new layer and actually draw on top of this. And you could do that with the sketches that you've got now. And if you've got the grid shot to shot, then you can copy and paste the grid. You just take this little selection tool and copy and paste the grid. All right, does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so going back to our Zoom, going back to Chrome. All right, so what you're doing then is you're drawing either on paper or in the digital realm, and you're taking this and you're tweaking it. So when you're tweaking it, there's a couple of things that you all should be paying attention to. And that's the thing we talked about on day one. And I just lost my pencil. And the first thing is make sure that if you're not going to put the little dots where your focal points are, that at least you go out here and you say, I'm going to divide up the horizontal in thirds and the vertical in thirds so that you know where your focal points are. If you need to remind yourself, put the little corners in. And I can do just one corner in each, one little bracket in each corner that reminds me that in any corner, you've got action safe and then title safe inside it. And these little marks are just a reminder for you. And if you do that, you can do those just as a little key for yourself. Just to remind you, you don't have to do it on every single shot, every single panel. All right, I wish there was a gray color here. Maybe this color will work. All right, so these little trees. Now it comes for you to design these trees. So explain to me, Kalia, the trees are plastic. That's a question.
Yeah.
Can they live in a bucket, or do you like these roots?
I kind of like drawing the roots. I thought it was more spooky.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to practice over here, because the tree has leaves, it has a stem, and then the tree has roots. And so what you're doing is you've got this part of the tree up here where the branches of the tree are a little bit more substantial than the roots. So we're going to take a cue from the idea that we've got more detail up on top than we do on the bottom. So when we come over here, we're going to draw the trunk of the tree, and then we're just going to get some roots working. And this is actually a little bit smaller than 4 inches on my screen. But if I was working in pencil, I would be able to get a little bit more detail in here. And then the branches are going to be a little bigger. So, and you're going to follow this. You're going to look at this and say left and right. The branches actually branch out from each other. And then you've got room to do this because those background windows are going to be behind this. So this tree over here, and then you just kind of mimic the same little roots, and the branches branch out like that. All right, so now get in there, and because you're drawing the windows behind it, I would ease up on the density of your line. And so I'm trying to draw lightly, but you can't draw lightly in this Zoom drawing tool. But I think you're getting the idea, right?
Yes.
All right. All right, so then you've got to figure out your room. And I think that this gives you a great place to explore, because we put this line right below the horizon line just a little bit. That gives us a place to play with this edge of the room. This is the baseline between the wall and the floor. And we're not going to draw it all the way up, because now that we've got this up to a regular 16:9 ratio, we've got a chance to play with the corner of the room. And we're just going to keep it symmetrical. And we're going to stay true to our vanishing point. So it's true to your grid. That's the left wall, the right wall, and this is the left wall. And then we're going to stay true to our vanishing point. That's the ceiling. And then this is the ceiling. And then we can put this here. That's the edge between the wall and the ceiling itself. So you can see that we're refining this just a little better, right? So all of these things that you're taking into consideration are jumping between the thumbnail over here and your board over here. You're going from what should be at or around gestural roughs, which are 2 inches, and you're doubling it, at least doubling it. I've seen people work with story panels in here, which are more 7x4. That's an approximation. That's a really big story panel. That's really big. The 4 inches is typical. I've also seen the 5-inch boards, and I forget what this second number is here. And the way to get that is you just multiply 5, or you divide 5 by 16, and you get this number. It's just the simple math. Make sure that this is right if you're going to work with this. The 4-inch boards are fine. But now you have to decide. You've got floor space in your thumbnail. So this is a lot of empty space. Because we've done this correctly, you can now see the stuff that's on the top of his little table, right? So you can put in what are these? Glazed?
They are glazed eyeball donuts.
Sticks. These are finger sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And the eyeballs are in the middle. And then the skull. See, now you can see the dimension of the skull, right?
Right.
All right, I'm going to change that to the darker blue. And you can see it. You can see it now. So here's one thing for all of you to consider. I've spent way more than, I'm looking at my clock, somewhere in the 12-minute range right now, just explaining this. And Kalia is going to have a camera move on this. So one of the options of doing this digitally is you can take this and you can copy all of this and paste it into your next panel. And so we're going to pretend that this is copied. So down here, this is our second panel. And it would be over here. Usually you line them up over here. So we're going to forget about this tree for a minute and pretend that this panel is over on the right side. And sometimes, and it's easier for me to tell if you're doing this right, because you do go from about 9 panels per page to either 4 panels or 2 panels for 8.5 by 11-inch layout. Just because if you have 8.5 by 11 inches wide and you've got a 4-inch story panel, then that's already 8 inches. And if you're doing a little gutter between them, because you still need the gutter, even though you're doing final boards, that you've got 4 inches by 4 inches, and then that just gives you a room for gutter on each side. Remember that you should be drawing through the story panels. If you're drawing your perspective, make sure you're drawing the perspective and you're like edging it out of the story frame so that you can remind yourself you are using a vanishing point. So here, you would copy and paste everything here. And so right now you could just do a camera move on it. You could say, for this one, I'm just going to do a camera move that's going to go from this position A to, we're going right onto our lead character who's right in the middle of the shot. And remember, I have not copy and pasted everything. And you're going to do that. Now, this is one of the advantages of doing it digitally as opposed to being in the pencil on paper world, because you can leave this one alone. And instead of calling this panel number 2 and shot number 1, you just call this camera guide. And you can either copy and paste everything in here and place it underneath it, or you can just draw nothing at all. You could just say, remind yourself that this is still panel 1, this is shot 1, and you're just doing a camera guide, and you push truck in from what would be 12 field center to somewhere around maybe 8 field center. And I haven't explained that, but you could just say position A to position B. And again, just to remind you, you can either do it this way, or you can do it right over the top of this. So this is the first way. And then the second way is to do it right over the top of this one. And the third way is to do it over the copy of this one. Either one of those is fine. What you're trying to do is you're trying to let everyone know exactly what's happening. All right, so then remember that voiceover, camera, truck, direction. And even in this panel, you can say you're going to truck in from position A to position B. And usually if this is the establishing shot, you can write that, just EST, wide, and just go ahead and put that in there. Even though the camera is down here, you can write EST, establishing shot wide, 3 seconds.
So I had a question on the camera guide part.
Yeah.
So does that apply to every cut or just some cuts?
Well, this is your establishing shot, right? This is your establishing shot. So you want to spend maybe a little more time on the establishing shot, making sure that you're establishing your environment so that you can draw your character a little more clearly. You could set up your environment. Like for instance, here you've got this little space right here where you might be able to put like a barrel of something that goes off the screen. And in this part of the environment, you might have a table that has some stuff on it, right? There's like a candelabra right here, right? And so if you copy and paste it and put that underneath this for your camera guide, then that leaves this clear and wide open. That's like this one. And if you do the third one where you just put it right on top of it, that's fine too. And even digitally, you can take this and you can make your camera guide 50% transparent so that it's not interfering with the aesthetics in the shot itself. All right, and then you go shot to shot. So in this one, the other way to do it here is to just say, this is the camera guide, and you're just tracing everything back so that from shot one, so that everyone knows that this is just the truck. This is just the camera move. And then you come over to, now you're on panel 2 and still shot 1. And remember in Billy's universe, what I like to do is circle shot 1. And that means that that's the first time we see shot 1. And every time else you see shot 1 that's not circled, that means it's a continuation of that shot. All right, so let's just study this carefully here. If it is digital, you can copy and paste this whole thing again and just zoom in on it. But your lead character is now in a mid shot, where now he was wide, before he was wide, and now he's in a mid shot. So now we can draw him a little bigger. And in this shot here, you made his hat a little shorter than it was. And so don't be afraid to just draw it off the shot, because it might look better if he's got a taller hat. All right, and then what's behind him? So you look at this shot here and you see that the window frames are not really touching him, but in this shot when you drew them, they were. So it might make more sense if the window frames come to his shoulder and then study it. Focal point in the middle, focal points thirds, I think you're okay. And in this shot right here, you do see the table, but in the way I've drawn it, we don't see the table. Is that important? And in this case, what you can do is if you are pencil on paper, study this shot. He's a little taller, the table is here. And this is a perfect example of not drawing your frame first, or trying to draw your characters in a frame that is already prescribed in a digital story world, or in a printout that you might have found from the web or something. Because now you can like draw the table and look at the stuff on it. And so now you've got like a tray of fingers and the little pile of eyeballs and the skull over here. And again, you just draw it rough at first, just to figure out where everything is, and then you tighten it up a little bit. So the frames in the window are pointing right at his hat, like that, and it might look better if you draw the center part of the frame coming down right there. All right, then study your composition again. Now you've got this and this and this. If you want this in here, then you are going to have to pull out a little wider. And study what it looks like if you are 16 by 9 and drawing a little wider. All right, and then another advantage of doing it this way, now you're still in 002, shot 1. And another way to think about this is if you wanted to go to an extreme shot, like if you wanted to go all the way in here to an ECU on his face, because you started out wide, and now this is a close-up. Or actually, let me rephrase that. This is actually a mid shot. And in panel 2, then you put all the camera direction here and here. You're getting ready to put the slug in here. Even though this said 3 seconds, it might include part of this truck, part of this zoom. And because it includes, this is inclusive of that camera move, then just back off of this and just say, maybe this is a half a second. And then put an asterisk to go back and revisit that as soon as you start slugging for true. So then you can go back to this camera guide here and say, oh, you know what? If we wanted to go all the way in on him, kind of like you did here, then you can include it here. So you're going from a wide to a mid to a close-up, and you go A, B, C. And remember, if you try to do this camera guide right on top of your story frame, it might affect all the aesthetics of the drawing. And so one way to do it is just draw this, and the first way to do it is to draw the camera guide, just like I've got it here second. The second way is to draw this story frame and copy and paste it, and then put the camera guide on top of it. And the third way is to just kind of write the word trace back and kind of just draw the silhouette of the characters under there. There's a number of different ways of handling this. And especially if you're spending a good amount of time figuring out what your establishing shot looks like. And you can see that there's a significant difference between what this panel 2 looks like here and what this panel 2 looks like, even in rough form, right? And again, this started out being 4 inches, but because we pulled out a little bit, this might be the 5-inch. And let me just grab my calculator.
2.8.
No, it's, oops, hold on.
Yeah.
1.2. No, that doesn't sound right. Nope, that's not right.
Divide by 16 times 9.
Times 1.77. Oh, hold on. 5 times 1.77777 equals. No, that's not right. 5 divided by 1.777. So it's 2.8. 2.8. So if this is, I'm sorry, if this is 5 inches wide here, then the math is that this would be 2.8 inches wide. And so this is incorrect. And so you test this. Remember how we get that number. You go to your calculator and you say 16 divided by 9 equals 1.77777. And so then you test this. And you go, what is 5 divided by 2.8 equals? And that's 1.78. So that's very close. And then on your ruler, you have to go figure out what 2.8 means. So if you've got 0, 1, 2, 3, what does that mean in terms of parts of inches? A half inch is 2.5, and then 3/4 of an inch would be 2.75, and that is very close to 2.8. I'm talking about this mark right here. So just a little bit more than that. You could just be right there on your ruler. So you do 5 by 2.3 1/4, 2 3/4, and then add a little bit to your ruler if you're doing it manually. Another way to do it is if you get your story frame and you've got it working at whatever size you pick. And I don't know if you can do this in Rough Animator, but a lot of digital applications, you can figure out what size your rectangle is, like in Photoshop or InDesign or Illustrator, or many different applications. And you could just say, okay, this is the correct ratio for 16:9, and then you can copy and paste it, and then just hold the Shift key as you're scaling it up. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, and then you do this panel by panel by panel. You do a panel, just the ones you've got, but as you're doing it, you have to think, now you're going from panel 5 into panel 6. There's enough indication here to say, I understand what's happening with the eyeballs floating and even some color with Lonnie's eyes. So these 3 disappear, poop, poop, poop. So that's fine. And the slug here, you do the same thing. This is 2.5 seconds. And then this is part of shot. This should be shot 3. Even though you're going back to this, it is a new shot for the animation camera guy. And so this is technically shot 3. If you want to reuse BG1, then just write reuse BG1. And then the slug here would be 2.5 seconds on this frame, and then maybe 1/4 of a second here. And then you put an asterisk to go back and test that later. If you are going from panel 6 to panel 7, and it's a completely different shot, it's very professional to write the word cut between the story panels. Is everyone following along? This is why, if you're using story panels that you find online, where the story panels are crammed right into each other, then it's really hard to write the word cut in between here. It's impossible. So if some story artists are using these, they write a cut, they write the word cut, or they write like an X. There's a couple of different shortcuts, but I want you having room around your story panel so that you can draw through it, so that you know that the horizon line is through it, so that you know that the window was supposed to be this big and this big, so that if you did need to readjust going from this size story panel here, oops, sorry, this story panel here, and like I said, we renegotiated it to say, we're gonna go from this one and we're gonna use this larger one, then you've already drawn it. You've already got that stuff in there. All you have to do is reframe it a little bit. That's one of the best reasons why you want to draw through your story panels instead of just filling in the story panel like it was a coloring book. One of the best reasons for drawing your perspective and your grid outside right through the story panel itself. All right, and then the other last thing is that I already alluded to it, but so this is a product shot, right? And nothing's moving here, so this is fine. In shot 2, you don't need an extra story panel. And this is good that you're going from, which is now shot 3, which is circled, and this is shot 3. Cut, this is shot 4. And there's a good enough action here between what your character is doing here into the next panel. If you didn't have this, you would need it. And then consider, let's actually, let me, that's fine. So I'm gonna go to the next story panel here. So she's got 1, 2, 3, 4 panels describing this action, which is exactly what you want. And which is probably one of the reasons why I used this example. It's because it's already set up really well in terms of the thumbnails. Like I said, it's overdrawn a little bit. You were trying to find the final lines just a little too soon, but that's okay. And then look at it. Does he need an extra panel between panel 11 and panel 12 if he's saying all these words? I don't know, you might. If you look at me in the monitor, is he gonna raise his hand? Is he gonna gesture to the camera? Is he gonna have any kind of action at all? You know, we threaten to bargain, right? We threaten to bargain, act it out. You might need an extra panel right here, panel 11B. And when you're going from your story thumbs into the boards, this becomes panel 11 and panel 12, and this becomes panel 13. And then everything after that gets renumbered. So again, you're doing progressive action. If he's saying, we threaten to bargain, you'll see the Reaper enjoying the treats. It's perfect for Halloween. You might want 2 poses for this guy here. And remember that the reason why you want to do it that way is because if you don't draw this part in the story, like I just said, if the shot of this guy with the hat is saying all those words and he doesn't go, because we bargain, and you do that gesture, if you don't put it in there, the animators are never going to give you that action. And this is the part of the storyboard where I remind everyone that you, the story artist, are driving the action. So nowhere in this story so far do we see a squash and stretch or an anticipation with a zip off the camera, right? But if you wanted squash and stretch, you've got to have it in the board or you will never get it. If it's not in the board and you get squash and stretch, then you as the story artist and the director have the opportunity to say, I did not want squash and stretch in this shot. And you can have the story artist redo it. All right, so this is a lot of information going from thumbnails to full boards. And remember that going from this story thumb size here into the 4-inch size should take you somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes, where the thumbnail should have really only taken you a minute. So you're doing 1 minute thumbs to 5 minute to 7 minute board timings. But you're thinking about it. You're not just copying it, you're thinking, do I need an extra panel here? And if you do need an extra panel, then all of the subsequent panels get renumbered. And you can go back to your original thumbnails and just cross out that panel number because you've just added to it. It's changed. If you add in a new shot, everything gets renumbered. And going from thumbnails into boards, you can certainly add another shot. But remember, you've got exactly 30 seconds. All right, I'm going to erase this. If anyone wants to take a screenshot of it, I would do it right now.
I will do it. Okay.
All right, and remember that all of those little drawing bits are going to be in the video. So you can always go back and scrub to it. I noticed that typically my lectures from Kenyatta College get looked at in a class this size of about 20 people, that'll get looked at about 10 or 11 times. But the Academy people are snobs, and there's only 3 people that watch my videos. And this semester is an anomaly because there's only 8 people in my effects class. And you can see that video if you subscribe. I don't care if you subscribe, but you could accidentally learn how to do effects animation. You could accidentally learn how to animate. All right, so we'll take a go at this. I want to see boards next week. Remember, this is only 30 seconds. And if we get into next week and I say, oh my God, all of you need more time, then I'll extend it by a week. Oh my God, you all need more time. I'll extend it by a week. But remember, that affects the amount of time you have for any of the other boards we're drawing.
So we have to pick numbers for our slugs, so they could add up to 720.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said. I heard the word numbers.
Yeah, we pick our numbers to add up 720 frames.
I'm sorry, somebody help me. Chloe, help me. Alex, help me. What did you say?
The commercial is 720 frames.
It's 30 seconds long.
30 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, so we pick numbers on the slugs segment. And
yeah,
that,
I used a calculator to add it up, and then I had some extra time, which was great, so I could like extend some of the shots.
So next week.
So I don't know.
To take one of your examples in whatever condition it is in, and I'll put it into either After Effects or Rough Animator, and we'll time it out. You know, for the exact number of story frames that you draw, I will put we'll time it and we'll go, oh, look, it's working, it's great. Where I'm like, Chloe, you did 75 story panels. How am I supposed to get 75 story panels in 30 seconds? That would mean that each story panel is somewhere around a half a second long, and that's just way too fast. You are going to need somewhere around 16 story panels, plus or minus. If you have more action, you might need a little more. Somewhere between 16, 12 to 17 story panels. And then when we look at, then you go, oh, my slug is way too short, or my slug is way too fast. And then you make that that decision. And you might see when you get to your animation classes that sometimes either your introduction to animation teacher sometimes will do a 30-second commercial. 30 seconds is a long time, actually. You might see it in your intermediate class where you actually can animate shot by shot by shot, and 30 seconds of animation might take you, that might be your final. I don't remember if Paul does commercials in his animation class, and doing it in Maya is different because that means you have to model everything. This might be the only time when you have to do 30 seconds exactly. But as we go further, our next project and the next project after that, you can be more creative. And you can do a 2-minute project. You can end with a 5-minute storyboard. But your 5-minute storyboards are topping it out. That's a lot of story panels. In any minute of animation, you have 1,440 frames, 720 frames for every 30 seconds. So 1,440 frames per minute. And if your shots, average shot length is 3, and you divide that by 3, then you're going to have somewhere around 30 story panels per minute. If you have a 5-minute story panel, you're going to need somewhere around 100 panels, 110 story panels. That's a lot. You know, I would rather you do a 2-minute story and have the drawings better and the slug better rather than just the duration of the story. But it's up to you. That's just thinking out towards the final at the end of the semester. All right, so like I said, make this due next week and we'll take a look at it. You can email me if you want, and I'll make that call right as we enter class a week from tonight. That if we need more time, I'll give it to you. But that means that for the next 2 projects, at least, we're pulling time away from those. All right. I will see you all next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
We'll see you.
Good night.
Hey,
Magnus,
everybody.
thumbnails were due today. So if you want to turn in both thumbnails and boards next week, you can. Some of you who didn't do boards, thumbnails, or need to redo them should probably do both so that you can get credit for it. And we'll see you next
So
week.
we have to make a full board too, just like you did a demo today?
Yeah, now you're doing a full board. You're doing a
Okay.
full size board. That would eventually,
So I just want to make sure I understand. So for every thumbnail we made, we're gonna make a full board out of it.
full board. And like I just said, you might need to add a few extra story panels to describe an action.
Okay.
You might need an extra couple of panels.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye.